On July 31st, 1878, the mayor of Turin formally refused to help a local charity. And this was an organization that was actively feeding, housing, and educating his city's orphans.
Right, which, I mean, just on the surface sounds terrible.
Exactly. It's the kind of decision that makes you stop and ask, why would a politician commit such terrible public relations?
Well, it's a great question.
But to really understand that brick wall of bureaucracy, we actually have to go back exactly 23 years to a monthly subscription of breadsticks.
Yeah, it is the ultimate lesson in how social movements actually evolve. Like, you don't start with a grand marble staircase and a political standoff.
Oh, you don't?
You start with a frantic, unglamorous struggle for daily calories.
Welcome to the deep dive. If you've ever studied the life cycle of a social movement, you know the hardest part isn't starting it right. It's keeping it alive after the founder is gone.
Absolutely.
So today, our mission is to unpack this very specific, honestly unassuming source document, simply titled July31.txt.
Yeah, and for a history student, this document is pure gold.
It really is. What we have here are 4 snapshots of a historical figure, Don Bosco. But the crazy thing is, these snapshots all take place on the exact same date, July 31st, but separated by decades, from 1855 to 1878.
And this isn't just like a list of random trivia. When you read a primary source like this chronologically, you are effectively watching an organization grow up.
Right.
You see the exact price a grassroots movement pays to survive in the long term.
Which is heavy.
It is. I mean, it is a fascinating transition from private ad hoc charity to a formalized religious institution and ultimately to a geopolitical friction point.
So, okay, let's unpack this because the sheer logistical reality of our first entry is striking.
It really sets the stage.
Yeah. The year is 1855. It's July 31st. Don Bosco has just returned from a spiritual retreat at St. Ignatius's shrine. And he sits down and he writes a letter to a man named Count Pio Galliani Agliano.
A very important local figure.
Right. And he isn't writing about, high theology. He is writing to thank the Count for 2 very specific financial contributions.
Yes, the 130 lire in the bread.
Exactly. First, 130 lire toward lottery tickets, and second, an ongoing monthly donation of breadsticks to feed the orphans at his oratory.
I love that detail. That detail, the monthly breadsticks, is literally the anchor of this entire historical narrative.
It's so mundane, but so vital.
Exactly. Before you can debate the nuances of culture or the policies of a city government, you have to solve the basic math of human survival.
Right, and I couldn't help but think of this in modern terms. It's basically a 19th century recurring Patreon subscription.
That's a great way to put it.
A literal carb subscription. But, it made me wonder, looking at this structurally, why Count...
That's the context we need.
If these orphans are roaming the streets of Turin, why is Don Bosco hustling a private aristocrat for breadsticks instead of relying on the city's welfare programs?
Well, what's fascinating here is what it reveals about the social contract of the mid-19th century.
Okay, how so?
You are looking at it through a modern lens, right? Where we expect the state to be the primary provider of a social safety net.
Sure, yeah.
That concept simply did not exist in the same way back then.
It just wasn't a thing.
Right, the state wasn't stepping in with comprehensive housing or food programs. The welfare system was essentially noblesse oblige. The moral obligation of the aristocracy and wealthy private individuals to fund these initiatives out of their own pockets.
Wow. So the survival of these vulnerable children is entirely dependent on a private citizen's goodwill.
Precisely. And, notice the other half of that thank you letter.
The lottery tickets.
Yeah, the 130 lire for lottery tickets.
Right. I actually wanted to push back on that a bit because when I read lottery tickets, I immediately think of, gambling.
Oh, sure.
It seems like a strange, almost contradictory mechanism for a religious figure to be using to fund an orphanage. Is he running a casino on the side?
Well, it sounds contradictory now, yeah. But historical lotteries were a standard, highly effective mechanism for funding public works.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and charitable causes, especially when state budgets fell short. It wasn't seen as a vice in this context. It was just a pragmatic financial tool.
So it's just practical.
Exactly. It shows you the absolute ruthless practicality of early charity work. I mean, Don Bosco is operating like a scrappy entrepreneur.
Hustling for whatever he can get.
Right, because he knows that his grand vision for a spiritual and educational legacy is completely meaningless if the children starve by Tuesday.
Right. It's the base of the hierarchy of needs. You have to
Right.
secure the physical sustenance before you can worry about the culture.
Absolutely.
Which, honestly, is the perfect conceptual bridge to our next snapshot.
Because the problems change.
Right, because once you actually solve the logistics of feeding people, a
Mhm.
brand new problem emerges. Like, how do you manage the people you've gathered?
Yeah, you move from the logistics of survival to the friction of growth.
Exactly. So we move to July 31st, 1860. 5 years have passed. The movement has clearly grown.
A lot more kids.
A lot more kids. Don Bosco is returning from town, and he is immediately cornered by his clerics.
But they aren't asking how to pay for dinner this time.
No, they have an urgent question about social customs, specifically the custom of kissing relatives and friends.
Right.
And the source notes this was sparked by the intense affection the peoples had shown to a newly ordained figure, Michael Rua.
Which is such a wonderfully human moment caught in the historical record.
He really is.
You have a group of young pupils who are clearly overjoyed for a man who has likely been a mentor and a friend to them. They just want to celebrate his ordination.
Right, but here's where it gets really interesting, because my initial reaction to this was, wow, this sounds incredibly petty.
Petty? How do you mean?
Well, I mean, these are orphans. They've been rescued from the streets. Don't they need genuine human affection more than they need strict behavioral guidelines? Like, why are the clerics pulling Don Bosco aside to police a celebration?
Well, that is a very valid modern critique. But you have to view this through the lens of organizational maturity in the 19th century.
Okay.
Think about it. In 1855, they were just trying to survive. It was an ad hoc, informal family environment.
Just a small group trying to get breadsticks.
Right. But by 1860, this is no longer just a small family. It is a growing movement. And the paradox of scale is that what works beautifully for 10 children becomes complete chaos for 500.
Oh, I see. So it's less about punishing affection and more about establishing boundaries.
Exactly. This entry represents a loss of informal innocence. When you become a formal institution, especially a religious one in the 1800s, you are suddenly subject to intense societal scrutiny.
They're being watched.
Yes, the clerics aren't necessarily being heartless. They are asking, what is our official policy? What is the standard of decorum here?
Trying to protect the organization's reputation.
Right. They are realizing that if they want to be taken seriously as an organization, they can't just operate on spontaneous emotion anymore. They need rules of engagement.
I see. It's the growing pains of a movement, realizing it's not a startup anymore.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
But honestly, I've always struggled with that comparison. The whole startup going public metaphor feels a little too Silicon Valley for a 19th century charity. Is there a better historical framework to understand what's happening here?
That's fair. A better way to look at it might be the transition from a charismatic militia to a standing army.
Oh, I like that.
Right, because a militia is driven by passion, a shared immediate goal, and loyalty to a specific leader. But a standing army requires uniforms, ranks, drills, and standard operating procedures.
So true.
The clerics asking about the kissing custom are essentially asking for the standard operating procedure for emotional expression.
That makes so much more sense. It's the institutionalization of culture.
Exactly.
And if 1860 is them drafting the manual, then our next snapshot is them building the absolute fortress to protect it. Let's look at July 31st, 1872.
Oh yeah, the scale of operations here is entirely different. We are no longer dealing with impromptu questions in the hallway.
Not at all. The source tells us that on this exact date in 1872, Don Bosco scheduled a preparatory spiritual retreat.
Right, very formal.
Extremely formal. It was held at a place called Morness, and it was conducted by two highly official figures, Canon Raymond Olivieri and Father Mark Mallorini.
And what was the purpose of this retreat?
It was for the first clothing ceremony and religious profession of the Daughters of Mary, Help of Christians.
Just notice the heavy formalized language there.
Yeah.
Preparatory spiritual retreat, clothing ceremony, religious profession.
It's a huge shift from the 1850s, but doesn't formalizing a charity with strict lifelong religious vows risk destroying the exact grassroots magic that made it work in the first place?
What do you mean?
Like, you're replacing the scrappy breadstick hustling energy with rigid bureaucracy.
Well, I mean, it's a tragic necessity. It's really the only way a movement survives its founder.
Because he won't be around forever.
Think about it. A grassroots movement tied to one charismatic leader has a built-in expiration date. If Don Bosco falls ill or simply ages out of the work, what happens to the orphans? The movement dies with him.
Wow, yeah, the whole thing just collapses.
Exactly. By establishing the Daughters of Mary, Help of Christians, and bringing in external official figures like Canon Olivieri and Father Mallorini to conduct the vows, Don Bosco is transferring the power from a person to an institution.
He is creating institutional memory.
Precisely. A religious profession isn't just a personal spiritual choice. Structurally, it is an organizational contract.
That makes sense.
It guarantees a dedicated workforce that will adhere to the rules they were arguing about 12 years earlier, and it ensures the community work will continue for generations. The legacy is secured.
Which brings us back to the standing army metaphor. By 1872, Don Bosco has built a highly structured, heavily fortified, self-sustaining army of charitable workers.
He really has.
But what happens when your independent standing army gets big enough? It inevitably bumps into the actual state apparatus.
And that is the geopolitical collision we see in our final entry.
Right. Let's jump to July 31st, 1878. The movement is massive now.
Right, 23 years after the breadsticks.
Yep. A man named Count Charles Case sends an invitation on Don Bosco's behalf to the mayor of Turin, Count de Sambu.
The clash of the counts.
Exactly. And the invitation is to lay the cornerstone of the Church of Saint John the Evangelist. Now, laying a cornerstone is a huge deal.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the ultimate public relations victory. It says, we are a permanent fixture in this city.
It is a request for official civic validation.
But the mayor, Count de Sambu, politely but firmly declines. He refuses to attend.
Just shuts it down.
Yeah. And his reasoning is what really caught my eye. The source says he cited a policy of official neutrality toward private, charitable, and religious initiatives.
This is the brick wall.
Right. So what does this all mean? Like, put yourself in that moment as a citizen of Turin.
Okay.
You have this organization that has spent the last 23 years doing the gritty, exhausting work of caring for the city's most vulnerable population.
Saving lives, basically.
They are saving the city immense resources. And all they ask is for the mayor to show up for a photo op with a trowel, and he says, sorry, we're neutral.
Right.
It feels like a massive slap in the face.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look past the perceived insult and understand the massive geopolitical shift happening in Italy at this time.
Which was what, exactly?
We are in the era following Italian unification.
Okay.
The new secular state was actively trying to consolidate its own civic power and draw a very hard, rigid line between the government and the Catholic Church.
So it wasn't necessarily that the mayor hated orphans, it was a structural boundary.
Exactly. For the mayor to officially lay the cornerstone of the Church of Saint John the Evangelist wouldn't just be acknowledging good charity work.
Right.
Under the political climate of 1878, it would be seen as the state endorsing and entangling itself with a specific religious power structure.
I see.
Official neutrality was the mechanism the government used to box out religious institutions from civic authority.
But here is where I struggle with that stance. Isn't official neutrality just a convenient excuse to abdicate responsibility?
That's the counter-argument, yeah.
Like by saying we can't get involved with religious charity, the state gets to wash its hands of the orphan crisis while simultaneously refusing to validate the people who are actually solving it.
This raises an important question, and it is the central debate for anyone analyzing the history of public welfare.
Yeah.
When the state insists on remaining completely neutral toward the private organizations doing the heavy lifting on the ground, are they acting with vital political prudence, or are they abandoning the vulnerable?
It's a fascinating standoff.
It really is.
You have Don Bosco's movement, which is deeply emotionally entangled in the messy reality of human care.
Right.
And then you have the mayor, representing the state, insisting on an emotionally detached, strictly bureaucratic neutrality. It really shows two completely incompatible views on how to build a society.
But look at the unintended consequence of the mayor's refusal.
What do you mean?
By shutting the door and denying them state patronage, the mayor inadvertently forced the movement to remain entirely self-reliant.
Oh, wow. That is a brilliant point.
Think about it.
If the mayor had shown up and laid the cornerstone, maybe the state starts getting involved in the charities operations.
Exactly. Maybe they start dictating policy.
Oh, man. Yeah.
The neutrality of the state solidified the independence of the movement because they had spent the previous 2 decades building their own internal infrastructure, funding themselves with lotteries, codifying their own social customs, and institutionalizing their workforce through religious vows. They didn't need the mayor.
They didn't need the state's permission to exist.
Right. They were entirely capable of building their own legacy.
It is genuinely staggering to look back at the trajectory of this one specific date. Like, over the course of 23 years, we just watched the entire life cycle of a social movement unfold.
And every single phase was absolutely critical to its survival.
Yeah. We started in 1855 with the gritty, unglamorous reality of a guy writing a letter to a count, asking for lottery money and breadsticks just to keep his orphans alive.
Just absolute grassroots survival.
Right. The logistics of innocence.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it.
Then we hit 1860, and we saw the friction of growth. The movement got bigger, the ad hoc family dynamics started to strain, and suddenly they had to pull Don Bosco aside to debate the rules of kissing and emotional boundaries.
Right, the necessary, if painful, shift toward a structured culture.
Exactly. From there, we jumped to 1872, where the culture became a formalized institution.
Right, the spiritual retreat, the official clergy, the vows of the Daughters of Mary, health of Christians.
They built a standing army to ensure the mission outlasted the man.
The creation of institutional memory and permanence.
And finally, 1878. The fully formed institution collides with the newly unified secular state. A mayor refuses to lay a cornerstone, citing official neutrality, drawing a hard boundary between civic duty and private religious zeal.
A boundary that, ironically, may have protected the movement's independence more than it harmed its pride.
It just completely shatters the idea that history is made in these clean, decisive moments.
It really does.
It's not. It's made in the awkward transitions. It's made when you realize you have enough bread to feed everyone, but you have no idea how to manage a crowd of 500 kids.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over, especially when we look at how our own modern social structures operate.
Oh, definitely.
We constantly debate the role of government versus the role of private charity. But when a government adopts a stance of strict bureaucratic neutrality, does it inadvertently empower communities to build stronger, more independent legacies? Or does it simply create a society where the most vulnerable people are perpetually dependent on someone else remembering to pay for the breadsticks?
Man, it's a tension that defined the 19th century, and looking around today, it clearly hasn't been resolved.
Not at all.
It really makes you wonder who is footing the bill for the cornerstone of tomorrow. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.